Sean Payton and the offense and Drew Brees, who I believe is going to be turning 41 this year. How do you think they stack up against the suddenly not as good Houston Texans defense?
Well, I mean, you brought it up, and they'll stack up as well as the referees allow them to. You know, it's hard to tell. It's, you know, being a Saints fan in the preseason means you get to watch a lot of Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill. Drew Brees played one series. Connected with Michael Thomas, looked great, and that was it. So there's a lot of question marks. We have yet to see what Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara is going to look like as a tandem in the backfield. I've been very much on the record of not being a Latavius Murray fan, so here's hoping he proves me wrong. But I think it's going to be business as usual. I think the Saints offense is going to be one of the top of the leagues again. Though they do lose Mark Ingram, they did gain a Jared Cook, and it's early in the season, so he should still be healthy. And to be able to attack the middle of the field isn't something the Saints have had for a long time. So I'm interested to see it. I think they could put up some points this weekend.
Yeah, kind of like Mark Ingram, the role that Latavius Murray is taking over for him. Like, I see that being a pretty good fit for Latavius Murray, but that's kind of under the assumption that we don't really know what Latavius Murray does, because you know he spent his time in Minnesota, obviously, but he wasn't super healthy there. So, and then he had some time in some run in Oakland, I believe, too. But that'll be really interesting to see, because I think Mark Ingram was a very underappreciated asset that you guys had in your offense. You know, you mentioned like only having one preseason series. I think just for Deshaun Watson's health, I know he only played maybe two series. Like he didn't get much more play than that. The difference, of course, is that Deshaun Watson is this is not his 14th year in the system. And he's playing behind, you know, his cast of characters has changed ever so slightly. And I don't believe Drew Brees' offensive line has been in a complete state of flux this preseason.
No, this is one of the rare times where the offensive line is completely healthy. You should see all five starters. Now, one of them will be rookie Eric McCoy at center, which I know typically J.J. Watt doesn't line up over the nose, but J.J. Watt's terrifying, period. So anytime you have a perceived weak link in your offensive line, you expect him to find a way to exploit it. So though they're healthy and they're ready to go, there is still a little bit of concern there. And briefly, with how underappreciated Mark Ingram is, he was only 15 yards shy from becoming the franchise all-time leader. He's always split that backfield with somebody else. So he's always been able to really get the most out of his opportunities. So huge loss for New Orleans.
I would never have guessed that he was that close to the rushing championship for the New Orleans franchise. But then again, my default for career New Orleans record holder is Archie Manning, and not necessarily because he was good, but just because he was there for the longest time for a not quite a storied franchise. But no, that's still a crazy stat. You bring up your rookie center. We'll probably have Whitney Merciless trying to exploit him. He's more in the center of the defense. So that might help us out a little bit. Although bringing up defense, and even before the loss of Clowney, there's a pretty solid argument that the Saints would have had just as good, if not possibly a slightly better defense than the Texans, because the Texans have seen their defensive backfield just keep slowly eroding away and relying more and more upon the front seven to get pressure so that they just can't be exploited, which is something that last I checked, Drew Brees has made his career out of.
He's done okay. He's done okay. No, I mean, it's always been this way at the Texans. If you can keep that front seven at bay, you're going to win a game. So it's going to be, again, you have a rookie center who's going to be calling out the protections. That's my biggest concern, is who wins that chess match, because the Texans do have a huge exploitable issue with their defense there, and it can be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, the center's going to be calling out some of the protections, right? But I mean, that's kind of like saying Jared Goff is calling some of the plays in LA, right? Or making some of the line calls in LA. Like your rookie center is going to have some help from Drew Brees on this one.
Yes, he should.
I mean, it's in Drew Brees' best interest to help the guy out.
It's a business decision.
Well, I mean, shifting over to the Texans, I mean, the offense, I'm very interested to see how Duke Johnson, and I guess I'm interested to see how Carlos Hyde comes into play here. I'm super excited to not have to watch Alfred Blue anymore. So, that's always a positive. I'm not super hopeful. I mean, I'm sure Kenny Stills will have some plays that they're going to design in for him, but I'm guessing he's going to be on a limited playbook. Going back to players actually being healthy, it looks like we will actually have Will Fuller for maybe a quarter or two before he comes down with some season-ending injury. And same with Kiki Kati, we'll probably have him. So, and again, maybe we'll trade 3 or 4 of them. We're recording this not to go too far behind the curtain on a Tuesday afternoon. That gives Bill O'Brien 6 whole days to trade away the remainder of our draft picks. And who knows, maybe Kenny Stills is our new number 1 and Nuke Hopkins is going to be playing for, I don't know, the Patriots or something by this time next week.
Well, I think there's still a Browns running back that you guys haven't got from the 2016 season. So,
is Peyton Hillis available?
For comment, but that's about it, I'm sure.
Are you sure? Like, can we give him just like a 7th round pick?
I'm fairly confident that not only could the Texans get him, but we could get him on this show. He's pretty available for everything.
Maybe Bill O'Brien will just trade for like a stack of, what year of Madden was that? Like 2006, 2008? I don't know, but he'll trade for a palette of Madden 2008 with Peyton Hillis featured on it prominently.
Well, I mean, It could be worse. You could make another trade with Miami, except now Miami has nobody left that's worth anything.
I guess we just got tired of the Cleveland Browns making all of our draft picks for us. That's neither here nor there. Cool. So as I mentioned, you guys are a 7-point favorite. The Mercedes-Benz Superdome is a notoriously difficult place to play in. What do you think the final score is? What, if you had to call your shot as far as like one really cool play or one big play that occurs, what would it be?
Well, here's my. We'll touch on a concern real quick I have before we get to the final here. You mentioned Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson, and we'll see if Tunsil's up to speed to play on the offensive line. The biggest issue for the Saints right now is both of their starting 3 techniques will be out of the game, and possibly their 3rd stringer. Sheldon Rankins is still coming back from an Achilles tear that happened in the playoffs. David Onyemata was smart enough to buy marijuana through the mail, so he gets to take the first week of the season off. And then Mario Edwards Jr., who they had converted to a 3-tech, hasn't played since the first preseason game. So the Saints' defensive front 4 might be really stout against the run because they're playing only nose tackles all game. So that's a concern. If Cam Jordan and Marcus Davenport can't get some pressure, you're going to have all day with Watson back there, and there's a lot of speed at the receiver that you've expected or that you mentioned. But with that being said, the Saints are now, I think, 0-5 in their last 5 week ones. They're a bit of a late bloomer. I think the Saints pull it off. One thing that kind of stuck out to me in training camp is the Saints have a ton of really big receivers, and I think to mask some of Drew Brees' arm limitations, they've spent a lot of time working on the back shoulder throw. So I expect early and often to see that happen, and don't be surprised if Michael Thomas scores a big one early on a back shoulder.
All right. Well, you have a score prediction?
Yeah, let's go for it. You've convinced me. Let's go 31-17 New Orleans.
Okay. I regret asking you for your score prediction because that is very close to what I was about to say. Matt Khalil was our starting left tackle. So I'm not entirely certain that facing nose tackles would actually be enough of a handicap to make it look like a competent offensive line. So, the big play that I'm envisioning, of course, is that, Deshaun Watson will probably, rash 25 or 30-yard rushing. That's not much of a bold prediction. I appreciate you having some broken defensive linemen, turning down the Madden setting on us. I think it's going to be close for your Saints.
There you go, guys. 3 games of the week for you. Big big kickoff weekend. It's the NFL 100th season. If you haven't known that, it's all over the place. They've only been talking about it forever. It's going to be a great season. We're going to have some great games to look forward to. Saturday morning fantasy football will be coming up with our good buddy Josh, our Lions superfan. He's going to be putting that out for you over the weekend. So you got 3 big preview shows. You can listen to our picks where we go over some of our, we go over point spreads and gambling and basically who's going to win, who's going to lose. If you want to join our Pigskin Pick'em on ESPN, you still can. Just check out our social media pages. We got links on all of our social media at NFU Podcast on Twitter, at The Real PodVader for me on Twitter, Facebook.com/NextFanUp. Facebook.com/NFU Podcast. Those are the main places that you can get in touch with us. You can send us an email, nextfanup@gmail.com. We love getting emails. We love reading them, just like the one we got from Paul from New Zealand. And yeah, other than that, one other thing, we're bringing back the recaps. The recaps will be coming back. Our good friend Ron, who is the tag team Dolphins superfan, has agreed to take care of all the production duties for our recap podcast. So much like the SuperFan Battles, the Superfans will come on Sundays, give their immediate reaction to all of the games that got played during the day. So unfortunately, you won't get a recap of Sunday Night Football, but you're going to get a recap of all the other games during the day, and you're going to have a full recap ready for you first thing Monday morning when you wake up, right from the Next Fan Up Superfan. So very excited about that. Hope you share this with all a friend. Remember, you can subscribe or follow the show anywhere great podcasts are heard. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. No reason not to follow us, though. That way, when you do wake up first thing Monday morning, you got your podcast. When you wake up first thing Saturday morning, you got your podcast. And then, of course, sometime late Thursday afternoon and probably mid-afternoon on Fridays, you'll get all of our other shows as well. We are in full NFL season mode. We're excited. Week 1, here we go. Here's Andy Dalton. There you have it.
I never even heard his interview, so I don't know the context in which it was said. I don't know what he said before. I don't know what he said after. So I still haven't seen it. I'm not going to watch it. I don't care, But, I've got no ill will towards Jay. There's no feud between me and Jay. I think we lost the game. He said what he said, and, we're moving on. That's in the past now.